Hi, guys. This is Daniel Alexander Cannon, and this is The Supernatural Show, a show that is not for entertainment purposes only. And today we have got a very interesting conversation. I think you're going to enjoy the show today. We have Kevin Hoyt here with me, and today, along with Shannon, my co-host, and Dan. And we're not exactly sure where this conversation is all going to go. Me and Kevin were referred to each other, I guess you could say, by a mutual friend, and we've spoken. And he's got a lot of interesting things going on in his life, and he's a truth seeker and a freedom fighter, and many other things that I could accredit towards him that I'm aware of so far. But we're going to get into a good conversation with Kevin here in just a minute. And I don't know where Shannon just went. Maybe she had to go do something. Yep, she's still there. She'll be back in a minute. But, I would go to Shannon right this moment, but now she's back. She's on the phone. And let me talk to Dan here for a second. Dan, if y'all guys don't know Dan is my supernatural advisor. Me and Dan have known each other for quite a while now and had so many deep conversations. And Dan is a on the ground, walking tall, spiritual warrior. And when I use those words, I mean those words. And Dan has his own channel as well. It's called More Than a Conqueror. Dan, if you happen to have a link to your channel, feel free to drop it in the comments and stuff. But with that being said, Dan, what the supernatural is going on with you today, my brother?
Oh, shalom, brothers and sisters, and thank you for having me. The same old thing, we've been dealing with some apparitions and things like that that's been shut down, and I've been able to make some videos finally. I am discussing the fivefold ministry gifts of Ephesians chapter 4, breaking them down individually. And it's been really an honor to be able to do that. I know I kind of was on hold for a while with my trailer blowing up and things like that, but now I've been able to get back on. We'll be doing it. We'll be doing one on the Prince of the Air. There's several things like that I want to bring forward while I've got a little bit of peace here. Dealing with apparitions, all that is not a major problem. They keep trying to manifest. We've had 9 attempts so far, and it can't manifest. It's not bigger than the Word of God. There's nothing that is. And so to watch it is a real blessing because you actually get to see the Word of God. They start to manifest. I've sent you film of it, Daniel. You've seen it. Where these things try to manifest. So it gives me time to be able to work on those channels and be able to get some videos out. And I've been really blessed that way. So thank you. Thank you for letting me plug my channel.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. You deserve it, Dan. Dan, I wanted to tell you, I'm sitting here looking at you, and you look more healthy right now than I've ever known you to look. You got good color. Looks like you've put on just a couple pounds because you were a little thin some months ago. And but you're looking pretty sparky. Better watch it. You get much better looking, and I'm not sure I'm gonna have to deal with competing with you on this show like this. And he just sits there and looks at me. I figured he's gonna come back with one of those Dan comments.
Yeah.
I would have proposed to her, Daniel, except she started talking about all the Mexican food she has that I don't here in Tennessee. And that blew that, so it's over.
Wait, who are you talking about? Me? Yes, I'm sorry. I have lots and lots of tasty Mexican food where I live.
I think the whole time, not from Tennessee, I'm from Texas.
This got off the rails somehow, but that's okay.
Food.
Shannon, what the supernatural's going on with you, my sister?
Oh, well, as I had mentioned to you guys, earlier, I have been really sensing the shifts in frequency and shift change just all around, and it's had a physical effect on me, and for all of those of us who are going through that, as Dan would say, just remember to pray, to bind it. Don't let it steal your joy. Just tell that anxiety to go off into the desert land where
Into the dry place.
yeah, desert land, same. Just
Mhm.
anyways, just trying to keep sane amongst being here in Southern California.
Right. She's right in
I'm in
the muck of it out there. There ain't no doubt about that.
the den of devils out here, guys. So your prayers are the best ever, and I love your prayers. So as many prayers as you want to give, I will accept them as I pray for all of you. And yeah, I'm really excited about our guest today. He has a lot of interesting insight on subject matter that I am very well versed in. And I'm also equally excited for our coming up guest on Monday. Not sure if you got to mention that, but
All right, go ahead.
Celeste Solemn is going to be coming on our show on Monday. I've been praying about this for months and months now, so I'm really excited about this. It's a very personal subject matter, and she's just a wealth full of knowledge. She had worked for FEMA with her husband in the 1990s and had been privy to a lot of very interesting information that pertains very heavily to the day we live in now and future upcoming events. So I'm just super excited to have her on. She was one of the first people, along with Daniel, that I started getting into when I started my walk with Jesus. And I can't be more excited that not only does she get to be on our show, but I'm doing it with Dan. It's a very personal, awesome thing for me. So I'm excited. Please tune in for that. And that being said, again, we want to welcome Mr. Kevin Holt.
Yes, indeed. And it'll be Monday at about 3 o'clock, guys. This coming Monday, 3 o'clock Eastern time, East Coast time in the U.S. is when she'll be on the show here. So we're looking forward to that. And but now I think it's time to talk to Mr. Holt. Hoyt. Why am I having a problem saying Hoyt?
If you were an archer, you'd have no problem. They're
I'm gonna
big
go with
bones.
I'm gonna go with Kevin, if that's okay. Or
Kevin
the governor.
works.
Or the governor.
I love it.
Kevin, maybe we could just start out because you're going to be a new face to a lot of the people here on the show today. And we are broadcasting on 2 pages of Facebook, 2 different channels on YouTube, Instagram, Odyssey, Kick.com, and several other platforms, live on all of them at the same time. And looks like we've got to about 400 people watching so far over all the platforms that I can see. I can't see every one of them, and it's growing. So it's a good time now to go ahead and start getting into the conversation with Kevin. And I guess the first question is, tell us who are you, Kevin? What you doing here?
Man, I should have been asking that question from the start. I'm starting to ask that question now, like, who am I? And I think a lot of people watching should be asking that question too. I think your mom was right. You're special, and we're starting to rediscover these superpowers that we got. So my name's Kevin Hoy. I'm a born and raised native Vermonter. I grew up in southern Vermont, Bennington, Vermont. And like most people watching, I successfully avoided religion and politics my whole life, ran the other direction. And then I guess I got to the point where I was questioning if I could live in the state that I loved with the people that I loved. I was sick of losing my rights and freedoms and watching my friends and neighbors suffer and die, right? So it comes down to fight or flight, I think. And historically, Vermonters don't make good runners. So I threw my hat in the arena for House of Representatives back in 2018. I was so politically involved at that point. I was in the November election. I didn't even know we voted in March, right? Head first, had no idea what I was doing. I got my butt handed to me from a guy from Chicago. And again, that blessing forced an election audit where we found 60 to 70% fraud. Can trace it back at least to 1975. There released over 500 names in the county, fraudulent names in a county of 5,500 people. And that was just the A's and half the B's. And then even better than the crime, we got the cover up, 2 documents and their words on their letterhead. And that's when things got interesting, I guess. So when we got to 2018 or 2020, excuse me, I ran for governor of Vermont. I ran in 2022 and I'm running again in 2024. And I don't have much competition, if you ask me. It's night and day, black and white, as far as the differences here. But that's when I became a reporting party for our multi-state federal RICO investigation. And to be honest, when I ran for governor, what I was trying to do is just get information out to the people. I was going to use the governor's platform, the governor's media. And at that point, I didn't realize how complicit the media was, right? And since then, it's just been a whirlwind of adventure and the things I've discovered. It's funny, everything I thought I knew turned out to be a lie, or most things. Everything's been twisted. And I feel like I found my mission. We were talking, before we came on here. I feel like God, again, Jesus, God sent me. And I feel so unworthy when I say that. Again, historically, he chooses the oddest of characters. And I think this group we have together here can explain just that. So supernatural-wise, like, oh my God, I didn't know you guys want to jump right in quantum physics and string therapy. I think we found a new, like, alien parasite, some weird thing. We're growing fake hairs, and there's dust that has blood in it. And Lisa Schermerhorn is a pretty incredible person. Through the power of prayer. Again, prayer works, actually, right? A modal, people who haven't researched a modal, go look at modal manifestation. But through the power of prayer, we're actually doing some amazing things with our blood. And this comes down, I think blood is kind of a key here. Like all rabbit holes, you start out with campaign financing or embezzlement, and you end up at human trafficking. That's pretty crazy. Your own Congress, your own law enforcement, your own government. But then that deep, dark rabbit hole also leads you to God. So I'm glad you guys have already mentioned all those things. So again, I avoided religion and politics. I'm running for governor, but I think my biggest area of growth is actually, I'm going to say spiritual, because I think religion was never provider, and something that's probably one of the worst things ever happened to humanity. So as we start to define ourselves and find ourselves and discover all these amazing things, I've met so many incredible people along this path. I see a bright, beautiful future. I mean, we've got, as far as again, politics seems about this big to me, honestly. Some of the things we're talking about now, but I've got a bacteria that can clean our rivers and oceans. I've got a way out, a proven way out of the opioid crisis. Did you guys hear that? A proven way out. Like, it's one of the, that's just such a big one. Education reform, judicial reform. And what we're finding here in Vermont is the amount of corruption. We just came in first, actually. They just did a whole thing. Most corrupt state ever. Vermont state, I think in 2015, for the Public Integrity Committee, we were number 4, but we've moved to number 1 now, right? And I argue with this all the time with people, because I say I live in the hub, and we just talked about this too. I think we're all hubs, man. I think the scale of this, people cannot imagine the scale of this. It's so massive, and it's not just your politicians and elected officials. It's people you go to church with. It's people that own the farm next to you. And again, it's inconceivable. Most of the stuff we talk about, I can't, human sacrifice or cannibalism, or I never imagined talking about this in public, never mind running for governor. I believe in Sabe. I don't believe in aliens, but I believe in extraterrestrials. And yeah, I'm running for governor. And it's the first time in history that you can say this.
You said Sabe?
Go ahead.
You said
What's
Sabe? Sabe? You
Sabe.
said, what's a Sabe to you?
A Sabe, sorry. A Sabe, again, is Bigfoot, most people.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
again, the history.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my history here, before it was Bigfoot, before Bigfoot, that term was coined, it was called the Bennington Monster. I live in, the edge of Now they call it the Bennington Triangle, but it's actually the Glossonbury Triangle. So they have Stonehenge over there, Glossonbury, England. Glossonbury, Vermont, we have a section of woods. It's a giant, mass that's never been settled ever in history. Even the Native Americans wouldn't build there. They buried their dead there. That's it. They said it's where the four winds met in an
We call that
eternal
national
struggle.
parks in the United States.
Well, again, disappearing people all over the world.
And
People
that's and
disappear.
the savvy people that you're talking about, all of us here are aware of them and are aware they're real.
Yeah.
That they're a lineage that probably came out of. I mean, the only one well, there's a few documented, but like Esau in the Bible, when he was not a biological direct twin, but he came out at the same time. We're actually first, and the Bible said that he would be a leader of a nation, and the other one would be a leader of a nation. They would be leaders of two nations. So a nation is a bloodline, and is what it means when you translate it. It's basically bloodline. So yeah, we're aware of the savvy people that are out there and their supernatural angelic abilities that again lead you back to potentially some of the fallen angel scripture that's out there and so on as well. So yeah, we want to confirm with you that we're on board with you there on that. So, but continue, my brother.
Yeah, I don't think it's an ape, right? And again, personally, I've never seen a Sabe person ever, but I've seen signs. I've heard whoops and knocks, and all over the world. It's pretty amazing.
I've heard them yell.
Yeah, and again, I don't know if you guys ever heard of Nick Sylvester. I'll give him a big shout out too. Nick's probably interviewed more people, that have talked to Sabe or Chupacabra or all these different things. I'm not sure, to be honest. I know he's got a Rumble channel. He just started one. He's got like a 45-year career of, interviewing. If you've ever been abducted by aliens or your kids talk to mermaids or
what was his name again?
Things. Nick Sylvester. He's a pretty interesting cat, good friend of mine. I feel like, again, but off air, I said, I feel like I'm watching my favorite episode of Ancient Aliens, but I'm right in the middle somehow. And the things we're discovering, it's off the hook amazing. If you're not scared, if you don't get pushed back into that, there's a lot of fear pouring out there. And I guess there's a lot of things to be scared of, but it's all down to doing the right thing, I think. And if you're willing to put one foot ahead of the other and join that adventure, it is such an adventure. Anybody on this program, when's the last time you guys were bored? Huh? Right? And an amazing thing I don't want people to miss out on, because even me, like, we're spilling all this exposure and disclosure and corruption, and here it is, and it's terrifying. The fact that we're talking about FEMA camps and we know about them and we're not having this conversation in a FEMA camp tells me we're ahead of the schedule a little bit, right? But I think all of this that we're watching right now, again, people call it a movie. A lot of people get upset by that because my popcorn's stale too. And, if you think about the task at hand, taking down the world cabal, the world, not just the United States, so much bigger than Donald Trump in the United States of America.
Way bigger.
Well, the Nephilim, this is what you're talking about. This is biblical. We've heard these terms before. And if you believe that, right, I believe that. It's in writing, and now we're watching it happening day by day, right?
Yeah.
But we also have to remember, again, I'll confess and say I've never read the Bible. I've tried 4 or 5 times. I see the passages that I think I need to see. But I wonder how much of it is, twisted and corrupted, and the fear, the end of times, right? Where did you get that fear again? From the most copyrighted, read, and rewritten story in history, right? The King James Version is, people, again, you're not going to like this, but it's copywritten by the Windsor family, right? So I think the best lies are told with truth. So maybe 98% of that, right? And they just changed. I'll use Easter for an example. You guys, when I was growing up, I always wondered, Easter, why do we have a rabbit that lays eggs, colored eggs, and it never really made sense to me. But that was one word. If you look at Esther, who is again, we're talking about child sacrifice, all this other stuff, they just changed one word in the Bible to Easter, and now we all celebrate it. It's a satanic ritual. It's a holiday. So where it comes from is Esther to celebrate. Back in the day, again, they used to take 70 virgins and they'd impregnate them, which is a nice way to say gang raped, until they're all impregnated. And then 10 months later, when they all gave birth, so now you have 70 newborn babies, 1 month old, they would sacrifice them to Esther, and their blood would run on the eggs, and that's how they got colored eggs, and they would consume them. Adrenochrome. And again, this sounds absolutely insane to people. I know. I'm gonna take all my political aspirations and throw them out the window, because this is the truth. You guys can go in and research this, and that's where I am. This isn't about money or politics. It's about our home. You don't have to be from Vermont. It's about our home everywhere.
One of the goals of this show is to be able to talk about things that are outside of the realm of what my people are comfortable with. And there are a lot of things that have been going on in this world for thousands of years that are still going on today, including child sacrifice. And and not everybody can handle the truth. A lot of people, they are stuck in their paradigm, and when you try to push that paradigm, it scares them, because they do not want to believe that they've been fooled. It's a lot easier to fool someone than it is to convince them they've been fooled. And I've had a lot of experience with that, and even recently, like I was telling you, just in the last few days, with a few close people that are to me, and they do not want to admit. I can show them clearly in their face, and they'll stare at it and look at it, and but then tomorrow they're right back to where they were, because they cannot accept the fact that they've been fooled. And it does suck to admit, or to wake up to these things, because it's when you first realize that pretty much everything you were taught by everybody, including your parents, your pastor, your doctor, everybody of authority, has always been lying to you, because they believed the lie they were told, and then they spread it on to us, And it's a hard thing to wake up to. It can cause you to kind of spin out for a while, because
well, this is the big, when you look at the overall picture, that cabal again, we're the bad guys. America, the USA, we're one of the number one bad guys. That's such a big red pill. Like, we're taking it down. They're bombing our U.S. biolabs all over the world. That's what Ukraine's about. That's what Israel's about. There's stuff happening in these areas, but not what they're telling you. In my theory, again, I'm going to completely hypothesis at this point, but I think this is over. I think we know the ending. God wins, right? Which is kind of cool. But I think most of this is optics. Again, right now, what we just watched for, I don't know, a half a decade was a conspiracy theorist, thing called infiltration. The fifth column is what they call it in our Constitution. But we had this Chinese communist infiltration of our own government, and it was a conspiracy theory, and we're all a bunch of nuts. Now, that changed when we shot down that Chinese spy balloon. Do you guys remember that? I think that was actually NASA. I think that's fake NASA satellites and all that. But we declared our enemy.
They were saying there's no way.
Well, and again, at this point, though, we went from invasion, conspiracy theory, to an actual act of war. They invaded our airspace. We declared our enemy. From elections to weaponized food to poison medicine to cybersecurity. It's all the CCP, right? So now Pocahontas and her sister city, or my governor, Phil Scott, and Lieutenant Governor and Secretary of State meeting with Wan Ping, that's the Consul General for the Chinese Communist Party. I think these are going to matter. Hunter laptop. Everybody heard of the Hunter laptop? China connections. Oh, yeah. So I think, again, what we did is we declared our enemy.
And all that stuff.
Us. We're our own enemy. It's not the American people. So the hard part of doing this.
We build our own prisons. Literally, people just say, I'm doing my job, but they're out there putting up cellular towers. They're out there building the wall down in Texas. They're out there building all these things that are actually imprisoning us. And we're literally working against ourselves and ignoring it and saying, I'm just doing my job, man. I got to make a living. Okay, well, can you please not make a living selling us down the river? But people will do it. I mean, how many people work for the state government, the federal government, and they're actually good people, but I'm just doing my job, like a cop when he pulls you over and robs you at gunpoint. You you were moving across the land a little too fast, and we don't like that. Well, who did I hurt, sir? You ain't hurt nobody, but you're going to give me some money. It's like, and he's like, why are you doing this? Well, I'm just doing my job. I don't make the laws. I just enforce them.
Well,
okay, buddy.
Here's what I think. Again, right now, by watching the Tell a Vision, you guys nailed that. His story, history, right? It's all a lie. Your religion, your language, your calendar, history for sure, physics, chemistry, like we're learning all this new stuff. But again, if you're interested in these things, then now is the time to come out and say something. And I've seen this incredible. I mean, think about the conversations we're having. People didn't know this. And it was hard for, people like us that woke up a long time ago. Can you imagine David Icke or Dolores Cannon or some of those, been doing it for 40 or 50 years? I'm losing my mind. I've only been at it for 8 or 10, But everybody, once you get into this, I got to tell you, it's not, having your brake lines cut and force injected and, warrants and all the other stuff we go through, losing our family and friends, right? Half of us have been, abandoned. But if you've noticed, they're coming back. And they're like, hey, Kevin, did you see this? And I'm like, yeah, we were reporting on that like 2 years ago. Welcome to the party. And if you took part in that medical experiment and now you're having regret and you're worried because people are dying all around you, we're still here. This half of the planet still loves you, man. I don't care if you laughed at me. I love you. I don't want anybody to suffer. I don't want anybody to die. There's other resources. Again, I got a bacteria that can clean our rivers and oceans. We got amazing health benefits that are coming from frequency healing to scalar and color and light and stem cells. And this, all coincidences don't have to be bad, right? Some of them are good too. So,
not to mention that everything that our human bodies need in order to be perfectly healthy is all available all around us, all over the world. You don't have to go to another country to get something to solve this problem. It's that the truth is, ultimately, is we're all being poisoned by this system that we're talking about. And then they want to create this problem within us and then offer solutions, whether it be pills or this or that or the other, or lies and promises that are empty, through some kind of a plan they've got or whatever. But the truth is that we're being poisoned, but the answer to all of our problems are in the environment right around us, in the trees, in the seeds, in the leaves, in the roots. I could get too far into this for this conversation, but I just want to say all the answers to our health problems are all around you. You just have to learn how to recognize, to see how God labeled these things. I'll give you one quick example and we're going to move on. And that is walnuts. Walnuts grow in the crown of the tree, and walnuts, they are in a hard shell just like our head. And when you crack them open, you look at them with your eyeballs, you're going to realize that it looks amazingly like a brain. Now, why did God design that like that? Because if you look up and study about walnuts and pecans and things that grow in the crown of a tree, they're for your mental health and for the health of your brain and the things that are in your head. But like walnuts, for instance, they're shaped and look just like our eyes, basically, and they're exceptionally good for your eyes and your vision. People won't slow down. They think that every answer is a pill, to go to their doctor dressed in white, pretending to be pure, and he's not. He's selling and getting commissions on every prescription he writes for the rest of your life, as long as you're taking it. So he has a motivation to keep writing it for you, even if you shouldn't have it. And the whole system is set up that way, but you just need to turn to nature. I got a little off trail there, but
Well, no, it's beautiful. I love going wherever the conversation leads. And what you got to realize is the Suboxone dealers, and that's what they are, is dealers, glorified heroin, are the same people that run the rehabs. When you guys realize that big pharma, big politics, and big corporation, that's your three-headed beast, baby. There's no money in the cure. But if they can keep you sick and weak and on medications for the rest of your life, they're making a killing. And that's exactly what's going on. It's been going on for a long time.
And
I'm going to
you down. And also, eugenics, I'm sure everyone's heard of that program, which started here in America. But this is a long stream of making us unable to be close to God, to empower the blessings that the Holy Spirit gives upon you. And your mind is clouded, you're a lot easier to be, herded in the sheep.
You guys are lighting me up. I got to tell you, Nugenix is, again, there's a woman named Martine Rothblatt. She's the richest female CEO in America. She lives in Burlington, Vermont. First of all, she is a he, lived the first half of his life as a man. So we're talking about transgender, but also transhumanism. Martine Rothblatt invented Sirius satellite radio, satellite TV. She invented the 5G facial recognition. She invented the deep fake mask that you guys see on TV. Again, endorsed by the United Nations back in the 80s, WEF. Everybody, every bad guy you can imagine, this woman, man, Martin, is at the core of this. And again, runs not the transhumanism stuff that you're talking about in Nugenix. They're part of the Nugenix. Again, every upper elite, higher education system you can imagine she was involved with. She's on the board of director for the Mayo Clinic. She runs a company called LifeNot. So when you die, you can download all your memories onto chip and then load them into your clone. She just cloned her wife. People think all this stuff is crazy. Look it up. Martine Rothblatt, again, clone robot of her wife, Beta 69, I think it's called. All this stuff is very real. And by the way, I believe, again, right now Martine runs Beta Technology, which is a pilotless electric drone that flies people and medical things. She's the largest pig cloner in the world. They have diplomatic immunity, even though there's no diplomats. And we know, again, she deals in blood therapeutics. She runs a company called United Therapeutics. There's a couple fear and leaving Las Vegas, adrenochrome references and all this. There's churches. Like, it's so mind-numbing how much is connected here. But that, again, the hub is based in Vermont, and she's running out of the Burlington Airport, which we just renamed the Patrick Leahy International Airport after that pedophile, and I can say that again based on Kathy O'Brien's congressional testimony, right? Kathy O'Brien testified. Vermont Senator Patrick Leahy, you guys all know him from the Trump impeachment, right? He raped her daughter, right? Project Monarch, MK Ultra, mind control, 150,000 Vermonters. We went through that. So again, this is all part of it. I know I got way sidetracked too. I was going to talk about plant medicine, and again, these Suboxone dealers. Basically, what they did is they got us from these drugs over here to their drugs over here. That was the switch, and we're finding out, methadone, Suboxone, all the benzos, all that stuff. There's a plant. One of my executive orders, if I become governor, is to legalize plant medicine. There's a plant called ibogaine. It's a psychotropic. It's illegal, here in the United States. It's kind of like ayahuasca. It's a spiritual thing. They've been using it all over the world for thousands of years. But if you do ibogaine, not only
what's it called again?
It's called ibogaine. It's a bark off a tree, right? And if you take this, again, from cigarettes to alcohol to heroin and cocaine, and it's 8 hours, you trip, and I heard it's not so pleasant, and then you're done. No more withdrawals. Anybody, hooked on heroin or cocaine out there, just hear that? One pill, 8 hours during your sleep, wild ride. You wake up and you're done. But this will show the intent also, because ibogaine works on, let's say, old big pharma like Oxycontins, but it doesn't work on the new things. It doesn't work on fentanyl. It doesn't work on methadone or Suboxone. And they knew that. They knew that when they came up with these drugs. So we had what would be an 8-hour answer, and, we could cure heroin and addiction. But now what happens is all of the drugs in the United States have fentanyl in them. Like right now, if we wanted, we could go to Mexico or Canada and we could get real heroin, or we could get real cocaine. You cannot in the United States. It's all cut with fentanyl, and it's not just from China. You don't think we're making the stuff here? Some kid in a lab in Cleveland can, right? This stuff is here, and it's with intent, right? So now what happens is everybody's hooked on fentanyl. So to treat people, we have to reverse prescribe. At one point, the doctor, to get you off oxys, they put you on Suboxone. Now what we have to do is we have to take you off Suboxone by using oxys, so you don't go into withdrawal. And then after 30 days, if the only thing you got in your body is oxys, then we can give you IBO and it's done. So, and again, the treatment is just one part of a giant policy. It can't be done piecemeal. Safe injection houses or needle exchange or all these, sounds really crazy to Americans. If you do them individually, it's a disaster. You're just opening it up. But if you do it as a whole process, so I'm talking about, 3 months to 18 months rehab, real rehab, not a catch and release program. What we do right now is, we Narcan you 10 times, then we send you to rehab 45 times, and eventually we pay to put you in jail, and then we pay to put you in a coffin. And our largest demographic of overdoses is our seniors, actually, grandparents and veterans, and this is incredible stuff. And how many people need to die before we do something? So I'm talking about, if I catch you falling out in a local convenience store bathroom, then it's automatic rehab, no more catch and release. Minimum of 3 months, up to a year and a half, 18 months of your life. Comes with family support and therapy.
Something serious needs to be done, because it's
jobs training.
People walk in the streets and stuff, and you obviously can tell that they're strung out on all kinds of things, and it's like
zombies.
I mean, even if they get arrested for stealing something or doing whatever, shoplifting or anything, trying to get some money for their drugs and stuff, they're right back on the streets. They don't get any help. There is no help unless you got a bunch of money. I mean, what kind of a system are we running?
Most of it was an insurance run to begin with.
Yeah.
Most insurances will give you 6 weeks and put your tail back where they found you.
Yeah.
It was all about the money. It was never about the rehab.
That's exactly right. There's no money in the care.
There's no real care in the healthcare system. It's all about the money.
This is a very close to home subject for me, because after my car accident and surgery, after the car accident, they already put me on several things, including Oxycontin, but a myriad of things that I took after surgery, the whole 9 yards, for a good year and a half. My respiratory system was shutting down from it. I had to get off of it. I actually begged to go to a rehab at first. My family said, no, we can handle this, which actually, in a very big way, I'm very thankful for. But I mean, it was one of the most physically difficult experiences I ever had to go through, detoxifying off of that stuff on my own. And that's when God gave me visions. That's when I came back to God. It was a journey that, must have been in my path to be where I am today, but it almost killed me. I almost died. Just twice, just because of those particular pills. And if I didn't have that drive, if I didn't have the Holy Spirit just pounding me to get off of that stuff, I don't know what I would have done. But towards the end, as I was almost put in a mental institution, just absolute chaos for 3 weeks, where I didn't know if I was ever going to come back. They were trying to put me in a rehab, and I begged and begged and begged, please do not do that, because they're just going to put more drugs in me, and I'm almost done. It's almost all out of my system. And the most important thing to know is putting in another drug to do something, to cancel out one thing or another, isn't the solution. All it's going to do is create another dependency issue or put you in another state of whatever. And just have faith, and God can get you through, and be strong on that, because I would not be here today if I would have listened to what the doctors told me. I would not be here today.
I think that's part of your testimony and why you went through that, as horrible as it is. And we're all affected by this. It's like cancer, right? Again, another government thing, right? This is all these sources. It goes back to your government is the root cause of this. This was with intent. All the people that are just another junkie, right? It's always somebody's daughter. It's always somebody's child. Remember that, right? And they don't plan it. I have a lot of empathy for these people.
Yeah, they don't grow up when they're a child. They don't say, when I grow up, I want to be a crackhead.
No, it was another.
That doesn't happen. It's these these potholes that are everywhere, or pit holes or whatever you want to call it, everywhere, that are set up waiting for you to fall into it, and we don't have any kind of a really solid family system that we're warning our children. You've got to stay away from this. You've got to watch out for that. See that over there? Don't do that. We don't have that anymore.
There are adults drugging kids to do every day. And even if they're not, there are those who are intending to, obviously for nefarious purposes. But there are ones that don't even understand that they are drugging their children. And that's why they're not even able to connect with their kid anymore. It's sad.
We just passed it in Vermont state. The schools don't need parental authorization to vaccinate your kids. Like this is outrageous. I mean, get your kids out of those schools. But this is another example. It's a government created problem, and then they can give you the solution. Right now, we spend about $1 trillion a year on opioids, $1 trillion, to get a 1% success rate. And that's the people we get hooked on methadone and Suboxone. They all end up dying. They make a lot of money in between. I'll give you another one. The city of Burlington, Vermont. It's one of the big cities, and we have no cities. It's one of our bigger towns, right? But again, Bernie Sanders. The city of Burlington releases between 3 and 5 million gallons of septic into Lake Champlain. It's our largest fishery in Vermont every single year, right? So we spend about $56 million a year just through fish and wildlife because it's our biggest fishery. But, $1 billion here for this infrastructure change up in St. Albans, or another $150 million over here in Burlington. And whatever happens to this money, the infrastructure never gets, fixed. So what happens now? They don't want it backing up into people's homes in the streets of Burlington. So they dump it in your lake, literally discharge into your lake. So what happens now? Everybody's heard of blue-green algae. You probably have it in your state too. It's all over. Our water is so contaminated. That's our next commodity, by the way. So blue-green algae is not algae. You guys got to look that up. It's not algae. It's human feces. So you can see they discharge a bunch of raw septic into our lake, and then our beaches are closed. The result is you're restricted more, and then the solution is they need more money. Excuse my French, because there's more shit in the lake, right? Where do you think all the people in Champlain Valley get their drinking water from, by the way?
Oh, out here in California, they admit that they use what they say is, cleaned up, recycled sewage.
The problem becomes is that they don't even have to report it till it's already 35% contaminated.
Right.
And then thanks to all the kickback during the time in 2020, the administration come out and said, well, they don't have to report the facts at all anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so it went from 37 at that point to 56%?
Wow.
Contamination. We here on this channel have shown the stuff from black goo, from hydrogel,
right,
to all this stuff is in there, and we showed proof of it. But the point I want to make, and if I could make one statement, just kind of to honk your horn, Mr. Hoyt, is that we keep looking for the solution to this nation being one person or one party.
Right.
It's not. It never has been. If this nation has any hope at all, it comes down to the governors.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones with the power.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was going to say, I think it's beyond that. I think it's the people.
Well, it is, but the governor is there, and he's there to represent the people, where everything else that you look at is to represent a party.
Understand that. I do. And again, I think, I'm running for governor, but I'm going to tell everybody right now, I'm going to take the position regardless. I'm already doing the job. I didn't, I got cheated like everybody else that tried, but we're doing it because it's the right thing to do, and there's nobody else doing it. Manufacturing, development, economic growth, and, all these things that we're talking about. Don't lose sight of the fact that we are doing it, people. Like, our world's collapsing. The sky's falling. I think our government as we know it is over. And I don't think it's ever coming back. Right. But that's exciting.
Completely.
we get to predict the future by making it, and we're doing that here in Vermont State. We pulled it's like 40-something% of our students out of schools now. Good for you guys. And again, as governor, homeschool, private school, charter school, it's as easy as the money follows the student. Now you got to look at the cost, because that's another racket. They're robbing you blind, right? So again, education is another huge thing here in Vermont State. And I talk to Vermonters all the time, and it's like 60-something% of people are single parents. And oh my God, is it hard to make ends meet now? That destruction of the family nucleus, the separation of church and state, all the stuff I laughed at my parents for. Oh my God, they were genius. I should have listened as I get older. You know what I mean? Maybe it is in the music and the video games. Maybe. Yeah, geez, do you think? We're watching that. I think they're trying to resurrect Lucifer through the digital realm, is what I think. And I'll tell you, I think Jesus walks among us today, just as sure as we're having this conversation, and he acts through us. If you guys want to know who your Savior is, go look in a mirror, because that's exactly what it is. And our power is numbers. Another thing that I did, again, I started a law firm, I'm running for governor. I started a news network, right, called the Grassroots Warrior Network. And it's always free. It's on Rumble. It's a whole plethora of people. In fact, we talked about maybe getting Daniel and you guys on that too. It's just a meeting of the minds where people can go to one location. And again, a plethora of content providers. We're pretty much on the same page. Like Daniel said, we might not agree on everything wholeheartedly, but we're facing a common enemy. And again, it's, news, politics, spiritual, and educational, at least 3 shows a day. And you got a bunch of weirdos like this. Let your weird light shine bright. By the way, that was a compliment, because we're finally discovering how weird and amazing that we are as people. And I think that's why they're afraid of us. Our power's in numbers, right? And again, I don't, as governor, again, I plan on taking the position, but I'm not going to take the job, because I think it's illegal. I think it breaks executive order, actually. I don't want to be the governor of, that fake corporate. Everybody knows what's going on now, from the bar to, right? I'm going to be this governor.
You don't want to be the mental governor.
I'm not going to take money. And here's the other part. I mean, again, if you guys want to know my plan, my first act as governor.
That's why I say that, Kevin. The mental governor is because it's governor is a word that is defined as about control, and
usually a restrictor.
Yeah, right? The government is talking about mental. It's the controller of the minds, basically, is what government means. Most people don't even realize.
This is more that, word magic and word play. And I know a governor is a restrictor. My friends had a mini bike. They had a governor on it, and it sucked till we got rid of the governor, right? So, I mean, do we need, you guys, imagine the world with no government. Do you think your streets would still get paved? Do you think we'd have education?
I think that we could still survive. We would need to organize, but
it'd probably be a lot cheaper. But I'm not anti-government either. I don't want to govern anybody, especially here in Vermont State. Vermonters are great people. They really are. They don't need me or Phil Scott or anybody to tell us what to do, but we need to govern this out of control system that we have. And it's all systems: medical system, education system, tax system, any system, right? And I think that we're watching. Yeah, what was that, Sorry?
I said we need a governor on all of that, or either just completely start over, because where we're at now is just complete. And they want us to be in this place. That's where they're putting us at, and that's where they're leading us, is a place where nothing is real. Nothing. You can't believe anything you see. You can't. It's just absolute confusion, and that's what's been leading us to at this point. Like showing us Biden like he's the president, and he can't even find the steps. Right. All this is an act, man. It's a giant stage that we're watching.
That's the theater. And unfortunately, I think the bad guys, right, for years and years, it's literally Goebbels' propaganda machine. If you guys want the timeline, and look this up, I'm a deer hunter from Vermont, don't believe me, right? But if you want the timeline, World War II, look at the Treaty of Antarctica, I got to talk right. Then we had Project Deep Freeze. Well, Project High Jump, Project Deep Freeze. You get into Project Dominic and Fishbowl, high altitude nuclear detonations. That's when we got NASA. That's when we got television. That's when no one ever dreamt about aliens or wanted to be an astronaut until then, right? That's when the Rothschild took over healthcare. That's when the Rothschilds took over the education system. It's all here. It's all documented. The problem is the media, because they're controlled, never told you about it. But, everything that they're doing right now, I think, is backfired. And again, the internet was made to spy on you, if you haven't figured out that yet. But it spied on them too. They thought they were untouchable. Nobody's looking.
Shannon, I'll be back in just a minute. Shannon, will you
Yeah.
handle things while I'm gone? I'll be right back.
Might I suggest, Kevin, actually, to plug Dan over here? He's actually been working on a series on his channel about, actually, no, I'll have him explain that to you so I don't mess it up, because he is really knowledgeable about this. But it's about the construct of how God intended us to work together in that kind of construct. And I think it might be really helpful for you for when you do, let's just say, when you do make it into office,
Love it.
help the people. But Dan, please tell us about a little bit of that series, just a bit. So
we talked about it before we got on the air.
Yeah, just
Explaining Ephesians chapter 4 to some, which means not all are going to be there. To some he gave apostles, prophets, teachers, evangelists, and pastors. Now they have messed that whole system up, but that is essentially the government of the kingdom. If you take a look and you break it down to what has been demonstrated in the Bible, then you start to see how each one of these positions function and how they must function together. Every one of us have a piece of the puzzle. And it takes working harmoniously, each one of us with our piece of the puzzle, before we get a true picture of what it is that we should be doing. Because, like we've been pointing out on this show, we've been lied to so much about everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a single thing that you can look at that you don't find it was a lie to begin with. And we just accepted it because the next person said it, simply because the first person said it. But in this series, what you'll discover is my whole purpose is to show who the Lord is in you and who you are in him, and the power and authority you wield in that. Now, I've been doing this, like I said, for 40 years.
Wow. And
I've encountered some things that we talk about here that I'm not trying to take the show. But I just would ask, I've still got the last two of the series to do, which is on evangelist and on the pastoral, which is going to probably cost me what few viewers I've got.
I'm not gonna.
I love it. That's no fear. Again, that's the faith. Again, I love Ephesians, the armor of God. I never knew any of this stuff.
6.
I'm
a huge chapter 6. That's what I do. I go out. I'm not one of those people who go and say, okay, this is evil. I'm going to run home where I'm safe. I go and lay hands on the place itself. Mm-hmm. I have done that I've cleared about a third of this state. I've been to South Carolina. I've been to, I came out of Texas. But the point being is that every one of us have that power and authority.
We do.
And when we come together, the Bible says 1 put 1,000, 2 10,000. What would 1,000 do?
Yeah.
So when we start looking at the power and authority we have, and especially I stand on, like I said, out of Matthew, binding and loose the keys to the kingdom. And it's never once let me down. Not once. And I've stood in the road with shapeshifters. I've had manifestations. We go on and on and on. It's unnecessary because in 40 years and all the apparitions I've seen, I don't think I've seen anything yet.
Wow. Well, I've mentioned, off air again, Reverend Jim O'Connor. This stuff is very real. And New England, especially where I am here, we're really, really famous actually for the occult, witchcraft, right? Again, spell casting. That's all these, growing up in school, I was a solid C student. Never really interested me. I had whatever bare minimum I had to go through. And I was really, really horrible at spelling. Or was I? Right? Mm-hmm. As we start to learn these things, like I think the things that you need, everybody watching, you got. And a lot of times, unfortunately, we learn from, mistakes, from, bad instances, but you don't have to. You can learn from joy too. This goes back. I love the supernatural theme on this, because one of the I guess conclusions that I think is a real possibility is the whole virtual reality thing. And when Stephen Hawking or Elon Musk talk about it, they're not crazy. So stop laughing at me. But are we living in a holodeck, if you will, a super advanced virtual reality that is so advanced that our actual words, and more important, our thoughts, can control the outcome of the future? And then that's why. So, but well, again, I think that's a possibility. And the more that we go and I look at that, I've always believed, again, the spiritual piece, I always believed in God. I always hated organized religion. I could see the man.
So did the Lord.
Because
Right, that's what I'm saying.
etymologically speaking, Re, legion, means Re, the sun god, and legion, which we know is.
Oh, you guys are going to go deep now. This is the book of Ra. We get 66 out of over 700 books. But Lucifer was cast to earth, and that word cast was important to me. And for some reason, I connected with the sun rays, Ra, the book of Ra. I mean, this is, now we're going somewhere, and we can talk about the, Nephilim and Illuminati. That's why I said that show, Ancient Aliens. I love that, where they gave us a lot of truth, but I think there's a lot of crap mixed in there too. Again, this is the adventure in me now, though. I feel like I'm a little boy again in discovery mode. And everything, every day I wake up and go, oh my God, I'm not scared when I watch the news. Everybody else watching this stuff, what I tell them is that news is not for us. That news is to wake the masses, just like the bad guys forever used, propaganda to wake up, or to sway our opinions. I think the good guys are using the same dirty tactics right now. I think they're, again, infanticide. I want to know who among us is pro full-term abortion, but now we're talking about beyond. We passed that here in Vermont State. I don't think anybody here is killing full-term babies. I hope not. But it's sure pissing off a lot of people, right? I'm a wannabe politician. I'm a real strong Second Amendment supporter. But if I wasn't, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to say I believe in sensible gun controls, and me and 10 of my buddies are going to backdoor you and sneak something in. And we're going to steal your guns, right? They're telling you. We're going to take your guns. We don't need parental consent in school. Like these are so over the top, and I believe optics, to get people off of our butt. Because if we were comfortable, we'd never move. Is anybody comfortable anymore? Your government had one job and one job alone, and that was to protect you. Do you feel protected? Do you feel represented? Are you, here in Vermont, our property tax is quadrupled. Can you guys keep up with that? It's an unsustainable system. Unsustainable. You can't. Mm-hmm. Eventually, you're going to have to get off your butt and do something. It takes more than, don't be afraid of failing. I've been told no my whole life, and tell me I can't do something. You want to see drive, right? So I think that's us. I think frequency, you were talking about frequency before. I think that's what happened with our families and friends, is they were a different frequency. And what happened in the replace? Some of my best friends right now, some of my best work associates, I've worked for 5 or 6 years. I've never met them in person. I love these people. And when we do meet them, the hugs are so much more sincere, and we're doing it all for the right reasons. And again, back to the faith thing, I've always believed that we're eternal, that there's more after this life. I always knew that. I can show you the government documents now. So if that's true, then that kind of means that, nothing really matters here. And when I say that, of course it does, right? But it's all about doing the right thing. It's that simple. It's about using your voice, the power of your voice, warning other people. This is my problem, is I looked, and I believe all this crazy stuff now. I looked, and what kind of a man would I be if I didn't warn everybody or do everything I could, to stop this stuff? And years ago, everybody used to tell me, well, it's the story that can't be told. And that upset me. I'm like, just tell me, I can take it.
You would be what's called a capitalist.
Well, I do believe in capitalism, actually. I do believe in capitalism.
I believe in certain aspects of it, that if we work harder, we should be able to gain more. If we work smarter, we should definitely be able to gain more. But when you're creating corporations that are running over, and this is part of capitalism, running over the people, the actual people that are here and alive, not some fake corporation. That's where it starts kind of getting out of hand.
Yeah, the greed and corruption. No, and that's what I said. I think what we're building right now is, again, a medical community that I trust. Right now, I'll speak for myself. I am terrified of the doctor. I'm a typical Vermonter anyway. I don't want to take a pill unless I think I'm dying, even an aspirin. But right now, short of getting hit by a bus, and I believe in surgeons, and that's, we need those people. If I need to be zip
break a
tied,
leg, you need somebody to help you with that. There's things that are true that are still true about that, but there's so much of it that's wrong, especially the pushing of so much of pharmakeia.
Well, if we stop and take a look at the original Hippocratic Oath, where they pledge alliance to pagan gods,
they got the serpents right on their logo. I know people
and
like
then
this.
You look at pharmakeia.
Yeah, in the meetings, I know.
When I built Permian Rehab Institute, I used to see the pharmaceutical reps come by and open up their trunk, and they had shotguns and $800 golf clubs and all this. You pick. This stuff isn't. They think, well, okay, this is the best for you. No, this is where I got my shotgun.
Well, and again, I what's that old saying? Like, if you're not a Democrat under 21, then you don't have a heart, and if you're not a Republican over 21, you don't have a brain. Well, I'm going to tell you, once you hit 50, you realize that they're all the same cabal. It's the good old boys club. It's in your town. It's in my town. Everybody watching knows that. You guys know it. This isn't something new. Your government doesn't have your best interest in heart. Big pharma is really, really bad and bad for us. We can't, the media is anything but fair and balanced. You guys
I have three brothers that would say you're crazy.
Yeah.
Because I say the same thing you're saying, and they think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Three brothers. There's 4 boys in my family, and 3 of them.
I don't think you're crazy, Daniel. I think the world we live in is absolutely insane.
What it is they get so heavily invested in what they believe. In order to break that, it is painful, and they have to admit they're wrong. And they're different personality types. You were talking about frequencies, people on different frequencies. Different personality types cannot easily admit being wrong, even though the evidence is overwhelming, they can explain it away. You can always explain stuff away.
There you go.
And, I was going to say, too, when it referenced to different people and different frequencies, I did a documentary that I released not too long ago, actually, a week or 2 ago. And originally did it, first off, a couple of years ago. And when I was first starting to talk to Shannon and stuff back then. But we did Operation Radiation, where we went back and I started studying and looking at the Spanish flu. And come to find out, what they were doing was rolling out radio, or actually it was called radiation. And they were putting up radiation towers and all this stuff. And then they changed it to radio because it sounds better. But all the same people back then were involved that are involved now. Even like Gates, his great grandfather, was involved, and he was a eugenicist, and Gates' grandfather. And the what was making people sick back then, it's the same thing that's making some people sick now. And it's the altering of the frequencies in the air, because we resonate with the earth and we resonate with these frequencies. And when you take these towers and put them up everywhere and all these satellites above our heads, it alters the frequencies, and it makes your body, for some people, get sick. Some people get really sick. Some people just get a little sick. Some people get a runny nose. Some people it's a lot worse. But they then said that, we got a problem, so now we need a solution. And the solution back then was needles, and because they knew that would get rid of more people. And so they run the same game over and over on us, and we're there, just like we were there in 1918. We're there again, with them doing the same stuff to us again. And if y'all haven't seen that documentary, it's on the Logic Before Authority channel, and you can check that out.
if I can brag again a little bit, but my 5 times great grandfather, Harry, was the first free Hoyt. Him and his father, David, fought against England for the freedom of Vermont state, but then again, the United States of America, right? That blood's in my veins, and that veins is in the soil. It's the same right, same freedom, same exact soil that we're talking about. Again, this is about our home, no matter where you live. There's another, again, really good information resource channel called Disclosure Hub. They're on Roku now, right? Burrow TV. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but GK, the owner of that, he's another Vermonter, another friend of mine. He gave me one of these. This is an EMF RF detector. I don't know if you guys ever seen this.
I have one just like that.
This is the most terrifying thing I've ever got in my life. I used it for about 2 weeks, and then I put it in a box, and I show it to people now. If you ever have a microwave, turn this on. You'll never have a microwave again. You'll throw it out. If again, our power lines, and I've been out west where you got power lines that just run along. Every time you go underneath a power line, it's like getting an X-ray. So you can go for hours and hours and hours. I mean, the amount of radiation that we're under is phenomenal. And then you get into the 5G and all that. Here's my theory on this: is I think, again, earth, wind, fire, you guys all heard of that, right? That's God, that's element. And I love Tracy Jaco, Michael Jaco's wife, right? But again, that's God, G-O-D. There you go. And then we have G-A-W-D, right? How many? Oh my God, right? All this God, and that's the global awareness wireless. What's the D? Device, right? And again, this is Tracy's line, not mine. But again, I think the wind is God, but the air, I think the devil hijacked it. As funny as that sounds. And when I say air, I'm talking about the air waves in between me and you. And this is, again, some of what we're finding now is, I think that many of us, everybody on this show, and I think probably everybody watching, right? You're in the advanced class. That's why you're here to start with. But I think we're walking a couple different dimensions. Yeah. I know your modem as we sit in front of computers. I know.
We're being dosed right now.
I know we are. That's what I said. And you'll notice the closer you get, and there's ways to around this too. Silver, there's a whole bunch of other different stuff. I don't want to get too sidetracked. But I think these things that we're finally discovering, again, it's everything around you. You cannot avoid it. It's part of the global depopulation plan. There's an actual plan. Talked about the length these people have been in there. Patrick Leahy, we mentioned, was he like a 50-year? That's a long time, man. It's been the same people in control forever. How's that working out for you? You guys, do you think it's about bloodlines? I think this is all about blood. I think it goes back to bloodlines, and I'm going to throw Freemasons into that, but I want to be careful, not being stereotypical. There's a lot of great Freemasons out there. It's a good organization. You get to know your community. It's a good organization filled with Christian trappings. You make it up to the top, just like in the FBI or your local law enforcement or politics or any of that. That top level is what we're looking at. What do you guys think of that statement? What do you got to say about Freemasons?
I would say that the people in the lower levels are probably good people with good intentions, and only the ones that have bad intentions will make it up anywhere above probably a level 10 or something like that, and start somewhere's and up there. There's a dividing line. I mean, I know some people that are Freemasons, and we've had a guest on here recently. He's an ex-Freemason. His name is Chris. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I think about it, you know.
I think it's right to that line, 33. I think you can be 32 and never know. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't think I would ever be interested in being a Freemason, you know, that kind of thing. Don't see how that would benefit me. Plus, they wouldn't have me anyways because I know too much.
Well, Kennedy warned us, right? Secret societies, military, industrial.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're on many lists in many various organizations of.
Yeah.
I'll just simply say, do you realize how many Freemason halls I've bound?
I mean, what? Say that again.
How many Freemason halls I've bound?
Oh, yeah.
You go up and lay spiritual hands on that building, what you actually see. And I'll just leave it there.
See, well, they're worshiping a god in those temples. Those are Freemason temples.
Yeah.
place that a God exists. The question is what God is it that they're worshiping, that they're summoning, doing the rituals that they're doing. And a lot of those rituals don't get exposed to the lower levels. So no, not every person that goes there thinks they're doing anything evil at all. They're meaning to be part of something good. That's why people join at the bottom. It's just the Freemason sifter only lets the bad apples out through and allows them to go up the stairs. Is really the way I see it, anyways. Shannon, I believe if I remember correctly, you've got to get out of here pretty soon, ain't you?
I do. But before I go, I do want to mention that a couple years ago, I happened to go to a wedding that was surprised. They surprised the bride, and they had the wedding in the temple, which none of us are supposed to be up there at all. But I totally snuck pictures and video. But it was the weirdest wedding I think I've ever been to. It was complete darkness. It was just super bizarre. The master guy sitting behind us in a throne. It was like, I'm like,
Weird.
I don't like this. In Redlands. Yeah.
Well, I think
There could be Freemasons watching right now, and we just want you to know that we love you too, and you just need to be aware of what you're involved in, and to really, really look into it, and because I'm sure if you're watching this show, you're not intending to be involved in anything nefarious. So my advice is find out who their God is in that temple. Find that out, and you'll know the answer as to whether you should be involved with them or not. So, let's see. There was a question, and Shannon, thank you for being here today, darling. At any point you need to drop, just go ahead and go. And
in case you do, Shannon, it was an honor, privilege to meet you.
Yes, I do hope you get to be on the show again. And I probably should just say my goodbyes right now. I have to go deal with my child. So I hope you guys all have the most wonderful, blessed day. It was such an honor to have you on our show. I again hope we get to talk again soon. And if I can, whip on back and you guys are still chatting, even if the show's not going, I'll try and hop back on.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you, Shannon.
Bye.
Shannon is our lovely co-host, and we sure appreciate her here.
And keep your eyes to the skies, guys, because we're going home soon.
Love you, Shannon.
All right. See you later, Shannon. Bye-bye.
That's great.
I got something I wanted to show you and let you take a look at. Not that, but this right here. And just get your opinion on it. See if you've heard about it yet.
Sure.
And it's this right here. Have you heard about the Summit of the Future?
I have not heard about the summit. Tell me about it.
Okay. Well, this is something that just went on recently in the last few days. As you can see there on the screen, the 22nd, 23rd of September. Started on the 20th, apparently, and went through the 23rd. And the Summit of the Future was a pact. A pact, kind of like a covenant, where we one go, we all go. That's a pact. And I would relate it again also to the fallen angels pact, when they said that they were going to go out and do this and take wives, and they said we've got to basically make a covenant that none of us are ever going to be able to turn back from this. But anyways, what this is at the UN. Welcome to the United Nations, as you can see up here in the upper left-hand corner. Oh, there we go. And the United Nations is one of the most powerful organizations in the world, obviously. And what they did was they voted last April 8th. There's something that happened on April 8th. Do you remember what that was, Kevin?
On April 8th? I should know this. I think I should know this. April 8th is
the eclipse.
The eclipse. Oh, yeah. It didn't add up. Whatever that was. I don't know if it was an eclipse, but okay.
Yeah, it was the eclipse in the United States here on April 8th. And what they did was they made a vote on that day, and they made it international law on the 22nd and the 23rd of September. And what it has to do with is it's a new pact, basically, of a set of new rules for the future. Okay, and they voted, and there were 7 countries, 7 kings or countries that said no, we're not willing to go along with this, and they went ahead and passed it anyways, and they snubbed them. Some of the ones they snubbed was like Russia, North Korea, Venezuela, a lot of the red countries, and they said, no, we're not willing to go along with this. But in this, there's a lot of things in this, and you can go, matter of fact, I'll take this link and drop it in the chat here so anyone can go look at this that wants to, including yourself. I'll drop that in the private chat as well. And let me put that, you'll see on your screen, you should have a private chat that it says, I'll put it in there for you. And if you come here and you look at the adopted document and maybe the statements, you'll see what they've done. And one of them, it's a new set of operating rules for the entire world. One thing they've done is that they're pushing really hard is for the reproductive rights of all countries for women, meaning they're pushing, killing babies again. And they've adopted that along with they're creating a new banking system, which they've already got in place. It's the digital currency system. And they're getting ready to flip over to that. And because they've passed it now, they're saying they're moving ahead with it. And there were numerous other things in here that are just not good. But yeah, that's what I just wondered if you'd haven't heard about it. And if not, that's okay. You have now. And I'd suggest you check it out because
I can see the symbolism all over it, right? From the satellites to the green energy lie.
Oh,
you got a windmill on there, and it's about more money. And guess what? I will not comply.
Yeah.
I know my answer.
And they're saying that, that fossil fuels have got to go away. We've got to be all electric for the entire world, because that can be metered and controlled on a moment's notice. It ain't as easy to turn off somebody's petrol if you're driving down the road, but it's easier to turn off their electric car.
Who thinks let's put our entire transportation system on an already failing electrical grid? Who thinks that's a good idea? And if you look at the choices that they're giving you, again, it's first of all, wind, that's the Koch brothers, and that's how you say their last name, by the way, right? The Koch, the oil tycoons. They own, the solar too. And it's just, you guys remember the Industrial Revolution, where we tried everything from steam to nukes, and we ended up on the cleanest, most efficient way. We're paying more money for less efficiency. And what we're finding out is these things are devastating. Again, you talk about lithium batteries or all the storage things that go with solar. Or if you want to look at wind power, what we're doing, that's a big one in Vermont State. So what we're doing right now is we're clear cutting the top of the mountain, not for coal, but for a wind farm. And then one of the largest contributors to CO2 emissions is the making of cement. You know how much cement goes into a wind farm? So we make all the cement, transport it to the top of the mountains on fossil fuel trucks. On the other side of the country, we got coal so hot, we're burning it. We can melt steel, make all the components, ship them across the country, ship them to the top of the mountain, have helicopters, we have cranes, we got all sorts of crazy stuff putting this up. We get like 20 years, tops. We burn like 10 times the amount of fossil fuel building that thing. Then, anybody that lives in these areas, has your electric bill gone down? They told you it was going to. Did it actually go down? It didn't go down. And to make turbines, no, they don't. These engines, the turbine, to make a turbine, these things are the size of a bus, right? These giant turbines. It takes a material called raw earth. And if you look at raw earth, when you mine it, it basically destroys about 1,000 acres of habitat. It's never coming back. It's so toxic. Where they're doing that?
Rare earth elements? Is that what you're
rare earth? That's exactly what I'm talking about. So again, they're not a benefit for us. It's more destruction. I've gone across the Midwest, again, Iowa, those areas. There's hundreds of thousands of turbines now. Hundreds of thousands. They're bad for our wildlife. How many eagles, right? But I'll repeat, I've seen engines that run on air. I've seen engines that run on water.
Oh yeah,
Elon's about to
there's
release his
technology.
hydrogen car.
If you go back 500 years in Europe, they were all everything was running on free energy. You can see all the spires on all the buildings and all of the electrical setup and equipment, and they were all running on all of this. And then they started tearing it all down, getting rid of it and everything, and then introduced oil. And we already had free electricity, and by now we know that they've improved it to the point that it's perfection. But anybody that tries to come out with it, I mean, I've known of people trying to come out with it. There were some guys in Idaho back about a decade and a half ago, and they came out with it and patented it and did all this. And next thing you know, they were both dead.
Yeah,
and it's like,
That's why I didn't tell you the manufacturers or the name of the patent holders, but somehow, again, God, divine, I know these people, and I think they're still alive. These things are happening. And again, you talk about Space Force. I think Space Force is actually, again, we're talking about space. I think it's cyberspace, but a lot of that, I think, is these new technologies and patents. Everybody's heard about, the underground gravity levitation trains and go from LA to New York in like 10 minutes, right? 15 minutes.
right.
I know the woman. I taught that her father designed all the electronic controls for that back in the 60s. When they killed Tesla, do you think they just abandoned the project? And here's something, again, it's theory, but I think we've been using free energy for a long time. I think it started.
They're using it,
Yeah. Well, and again, I think we are up here, and they'll go flick, flick, flick. Oh, we need more money every once in a while. But the same with anti-gravity. And when I look at,
they could be producing a lot of this electricity, but using free energy systems and selling it to us.
Yeah. Well, if I was going to drive from Vermont State to California, I'm not going to make it, right? Because my gas tank can only hold so much, and I know the mileage of my truck. I can tell you guys, I can figure it out on paper, roughly where I'm going to run out of gas. I can tell you. I want people to start, again, do your own research. Start looking at flights in the United States. Again, when we go over to Europe and stuff, a lot of the tanks aren't big enough. And if I was Boeing and you were Lockheed Martin and we discovered, anti-gravity technology a long time ago, maybe we shouldn't tell people. We'll just keep it between ourselves. We'll run the fuel trucks out there on the tarmac and tell everybody, hey, man, this is why the price of tickets are so bad, right? These new planes that are coming out from Boeing, they're spacecrafts. They fly themselves, for Christ's sake. They're billion-dollar projects, you know what I mean? But if you start looking into that, the shape of the Earth, you start looking, again, I'm a guy that forever I laughed at flat earthers. That's ridiculous. The idea that, but then I started looking. Nick Elvire, Good Lion TV, he did because I knew how ignorant was I avoided that conversation. I knew the earth was round. And then again, Nick Elvire did a show called The Invisible Enemy. It doesn't sound anything like flat earth, right? So I watched it, and then he's a good editor. And I started my adult career as an engineer in the structural steel industry. I was in the industry when 9/11 happened and stuff, all these perfectly timed things in my life, right? But I actually just broke out pen and paper, and then I started testing it. And anybody out there that knows anybody from NASA, I'd love for them to come on and explain this. But I stood on a boat and I filmed another boat 100 miles away. Professional, again, I hosted and produced outdoor television.
A boat?
Right, a boat. Yeah, sorry for my Yankee accent. Right, a boat, a vessel, a boat. Okay. So again, I did the Pythagorean theorem every day of my life for about a decade and a half as an engineer.
I know they filmed Chicago from the other side of, I think it's Lake Michigan. Yeah. They filmed it all across the lake, which is technically impossible. And I've seen a lot of interesting things and have a lot of questions about it, but I'm not really a debater on the flat earth, round earth thing. I'm actually looking at a little bit bigger picture of that. And to me, that bigger picture, I'm not as concerned with the round or the flat. However, I'll say that the Bible says that the earth is immovable and it's stationary. And so,
well, again, doesn't God say he created the firmament and then brought the land up out of the water? And again, I'm not a Bible reader, so
separated the waters from above, from below, this kind of thing. But
Right.
again, it seems to be a divisive topic for a lot of people and stuff. But
Well, the reason I brought it up is I think why is it important is what people ask me all the time. And I think it's because, again, we have a destination, but you come out of the gate and you take a hard right, right off the bat. I think it's part of the anti-God movement, actually, right? And what it did for me, because when I first, again, started testing it and doing the math myself, and my conclusion, which I'll tell everybody, is I don't know. The one thing I do know is they completely lied to us. And it's not just a little bit wrong. It's very, very wrong. You just got to do the math. It's that simple. So what the real answer is, we're still working on that, right? But based on math alone, but even when I do my math, I have to take, again, 6 times 6 times 600. That's the diameter of the earth. That's part of my math equation.
that's also the speed at which they say the Earth travels.
Right, 66,000, or the orbital speed of Pluto, or the distance from Pluto to Uranus. Uranus is right.
And
It's a bunch
you said something about if we knew anybody from NASA. Me and Dan actually know a guy from NASA.
I'd love to.
Well, he was working there, and they offered him basically a blank check to continue doing some work with them and stuff. And he said no, and he will tell you in a second that the Earth is flat.
Wow. So a lot of pilots. Again, I've flown. I just can't take off and land.
I know some pilots that they'll say that when they're asked if it's round or if it's flat, they say it's flat because there's no adjustments in the aircraft made.
Right. You don't have to keep nosing it down. Well,
Right.
this is, and again, the reason I'm bringing all this up is because if they lied about that, then what else did they lie about? And I think it's basic math. And
why would they tell us the truth about that when they lied about everything else?
Well, what it did for me is it got me thinking backwards. You guys ever feel like you're in an upside down, right is left, backwards world? I did. So instantly, when I first did the math and stuff, literally for 2 weeks, it knocked me down. Like, am I insane? How can this be? They fooled the whole world. Like, oh my, no possible way. I thought I was crazy, but it got me thinking backwards. So then I got thinking, well, where is space? Where is space? Isn't space everywhere? I'm in my space. You're in your space. I can get in your personal space, right? Space is all around us, but they tell us that space is up there. So then I started thinking opposite. Well, maybe space is down there then. So then again, I think what happened, we called it the Cold War, but during Project Dominic and Fishbowl, I think they were trying to blast through God's firmament. Insane people. And they failed.
That's what
so
it
now
looked like doing,
all of our planets are named after Roman gods. So when I hear Elon and Trump, and they just did it again, say we're going to Mars, I hear we're going to war. And I think after they couldn't blast through the firmament, space, they tried to drill through the bottom. Elon again in his boring company. So the first thing I did is I took an overlay of the constellation, and they matched the domes. Just by coincidence, that's deep underground military bases that are connected by that gravity levitation train that I'm talking about. Underground cities, things that sound inconceivable.
Even all the cities and the basilicas, they build them in the image of the heavens. Like Paris, all the basilicas in Paris are in the image of Virgo, the woman. Wow. And each basilica is located exactly the right distances and the right degrees in order to match Virgo in the heavens.
That's exactly right.
That's how into it they are.
I found it. And again, religion runs the world. You touched on this before. Again, I'm spiritual, not religious. But anybody watching, religion runs the world. Most people can agree with that. Do you think the Catholics are in charge? Or is it the Buddhas or the Muslims or this is where it's inconceivable. It's the Satanists. It's the Luciferians. And that's two different groups, by the way. One wants to eat your kids. The other one wants to do, incredible. And when I tell people, do you think there's somewhere in the world where they eat other people right now, cannibalism? And most people would say, yeah, and think Papua New Guinea or South America or some of these places. They don't think it's literally the White House in Washington or the skyscrapers.
They don't realize they might be at McDonald's.
Yeah, well, isn't that terrifying too? But my theory again behind this is we're watching all of this right now on TV, but is that what is happening? Or is that what was happening? Because again, Derek Johnson, I'll give him a shout out too. We had they called it a fifth column when they wrote the Constitution, but they had a plan for this. So devolution, That's the de-evolution of our own government. I think that's what we're watching. We're playing poker with the devil, but he's playing like this. Like you can see, his hand right now. Or at least that's what I hope. Another part of the religion is they got to tell us. So I wonder again, is it just us, Betty White, how do you stay so youthful? Well, I eat right and exercise, and every Tuesday I drink the blood of a virgin, and we all laughed. I don't think Betty White was.
People laugh, but they tell us the truth about these kind of things, and most people just take it as a joke, or they'll put it into a cartoon. You know, like I just showed in a recent video, there was. Well, see, Trump just recently said the other day, he said he was going to Springfield and Aurora. And he said, and I might not come back. You may never see me again. I got to do what I got to do. And he's going to go to Springfield here in the next couple of days. And the Simpsons, which they've been putting things in cartoons and showing us there for a long time. And the Simpsons had an episode called Peep and Mom. And it showed Bart where he was planning a prank that he was hiding from his mom, and she was peeping on him and trying to figure out what he was doing. And the prank that he was doing was he was going to kill a politician that was coming to town, and all of the politician's followers wore red hats.
Wow.
And the background fell on him and killed him. There was a background behind him that fell down and killed him. And they just put it right there, and right in your face. And when you really look at that video, it's on my channel if you want to check it out later, but it's on the Logic Before Authority channel. But yeah, they just put it right there. They tell us the truth. But
that's a great decode. And I hope a lot of times, again, when we find these things and you can put it out there, I think we are pretty magical beings. We can actually change the outcomes.
There's an effect. Everything's an effect.
Everything's an effect.
Yeah,
I think that's, again, the Simpsons, from Tom Hanks to, oh my God, what a crazy world we're living in, right, guys? It can't all be a coincidence. After a while, so many coincidences, it's not a coincidence. And it's like telling, somebody your wife's cheating on you. That's what we were talking. You don't want to believe it. You don't want, you know what I mean? I'm sorry, though, if I knew you and that was happening, I feel like I'd have to tell you. And I'm telling you right now, your government is cheating on you. Your government is abusing you. And we've all been this divide that we have right now. A lot of people, conservative people especially, we're out against the LGBTQ community. You talk about a terrorized and abused group of people. A lot of them are going to be on therapeutics for the rest of their life. Again, I think they've literally been brainwashed. And if you're part of that community, I'm sorry for that. This is my own personal feeling. I don't care who your God is. I don't care who your lover is. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care what color your hair is. We've all been abused by this system. Now we're implement. This was an agenda, a political agenda. We have this documentation. The Public Library, National Library Association, has a trans agenda. And when you look at the flag, the new, again, LGBTQ flag with all the different colored stripes on the corner, I tell people of this community this part. Yeah, well, they don't believe me because, again, they don't want to believe. Most people in that community, they're not pedophiles either. But they're adding the P to your flag, right? There's P all over your flag. If you look at, again, you got the rainbow for the gay and lesbian community. And again, you guys got to make your own choices, and you have your own, discussion with God after we're all done. But over here on the side, all these triangles that you're looking at, flag's supposed to be held this way. The black triangle is for necrophilia, if you're into having sex with dead people. The brown one is for bestiality, if you want to horse around. The blue and the
goes these days.
Well, that's the blue. The blue and pink stripe, that's not for the blue and the pink people. That's for little boys and little girls. And then the white stripe is for, it's for MAPS, the minor attracted people, and their commitment to not offend. We're opening up MAPS camps right here in Vermont State, freedom of speech, equality, everybody under the rainbow. We're all included under this, including pedophiles. And when I have this discussion about their flag, again, they argue with me because they don't want to believe it, and that's not what they represent. That's not what the flag means to them. and they get defensive over it, right? I'm not a homophobe. Again, that's your personal choice. You guys do whatever you want in the privacy of your own homes. I don't want to jam down, my kindergartner's neck. I don't want to in our publicly funded, public libraries. Can we have a stripper story hour, or is it just drag? They have costumes and glitter and stuff
Yeah,
too.
is it just drag queen hour? Can we have stripper hour? Can we have
Right.
Can we have pedophile hour? Can we have, all these debaucheries? I mean, you might as well. They already,
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to say, Kevin, I greatly appreciate you being here today. And to be honest with you, I think we should probably have another conversation sometime. Have you back on pretty soon.
Gotcha.
We're at about the hour and a half point, a little after that, where we need to kind of start wrapping up here. Brother Dan, do you have any final thoughts about anything that's spinning around your head? Don't matter if we like it or not. Lay it on us.
Well, you know what I like to do at this show, with your permission.
Absolutely. Yes. Please do, Dan.
Shalom, brothers and sisters. You just heard all the things that are going on in this world. All the lies, all the deceit, the rampant murder, everything that is a debauchery. And it is all coming down around our ears. The only hope you have, the only hope, is in the Lord Jesus Christ. You can sit up and say, well, Trump's going to save us, or Harris is going to save us, whomever. The only Savior we have is Jesus Christ. It is his power that has shut down things. You've heard me testify before. Has never failed me, no matter what I've gotten into. Now, you can choose to go ahead and be blown around like tumbleweeds following this doctrine or that doctrine, or you can start to realize that all of this is coming down. And if you're a part of it, you're coming down too. If you've never had Jesus as your Savior, then I want you to take a moment here and stop and think. Just look around your world. All these things that we've talked about on this show. Now you've heard from a gentleman who has actual connections to people who are doing these very things. Stop and think about what has happened. And if you now, more than ever, because I don't know how many more times you're going to get the opportunity, if you haven't accepted Jesus as your Savior, I ask you to do so now. Would you please pray with me? Oh, Lord Jesus, I am a sinner and I have fallen far. I have been blown around and am lost in my world. I no longer want to feel the weight of it all. I need you. I need you to come in my life. Be the Lord of my life so that I can feel joy and peace and happiness in dark days, where I no longer am frightened or worried or dismayed at what's going on, for I know that you are with me and will be with me until the end of days. So forgive me of my sins. Come and be the Lord over my life and walk with me. As I go forward, let me follow you, for you alone are worthy. Thank you, Lord Jesus. Thank you for hearing me, for forgiving me, for shedding your holy blood over me. Thank you. Amen and amen.
So be it.
People, if you prayed this simple prayer, then I ask that you put a statement into the comments, not for us, but it's your testifying of your faith that you have now been born again and are a part of the kingdom. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Mr. Hoyt. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Dan. Really, thank you, Dan. And yes, we do read the chat. And y'all guys are in the chat, and viewers are part of this show we're doing here. This is not just our show and something we're doing for our own glory. The show is for the glory of the truth and the glory of God. And as you can see here are the comments, the live comments that are coming through one of the platforms. I can't get all of them to feed where y'all guys can see them through all the 8 platforms. But yeah, we do read the comments, and y'all guys are part of the show. As a matter of fact, y'all guys can be on the show if you've got knowledge that you would like to share, or you've got maybe simply a supernatural story that you would like to share. You can go to the website, which is called TheSupernatural.Show. You can go to the website, and there's a place there on the website where you can submit your stories that where you can submit your supernatural story. You can come right here on the website, click on Submit Story, and you can come in here and enter in all your information, type out your story, and you can let us know whether you just want us to read it on a live show, or whether you'd like to come on the actual live show and tell the story yourself. So you can be part of the show just like we are. And you can even have your own shows. You can come here on the website and sign up to have your own actual show. When you are a member of the website, you can have your own show, tell your own story under the Supernatural Show brand. And so, yeah, this belongs to y'all guys. This is just being done for y'all guys. It ain't just going here and show off our knowledge or show off and claim that we're close to God or anything like that. This is about spreading the truth. And fortunately, part of the truth is that God is real, and He watches over all of us at all times, and He's there on the most smallest amount of moment there is possible, because He's done it in my life numerous times. Because like I've said before, I should be a dead man, and I'm not. So there is that I should be dead and I'm not, because He's intervened many times for me. But again, Kevin, thank you very much for being here with us today on the show. We'd love to have you back sometime here pretty soon. Give us an update.
I appreciate you. That was amazing, by the way. Again, the Grassroots Warrior Network's the same way. If you guys have a message, a product, something that can help other people, the world's changing. Daniel, I don't think it was an accident. And Dan, I appreciate you guys both. I don't think it's an accident that we met. This is the new world, not the new world order. This is the bright, beautiful world that we're all building together. I can't end it any better than Dan did. I appreciate that prayer too. So thank you guys for inviting me. God bless us all.
Problem.
I'm thankful.
And y'all guys out there, if you're watching this, and if you like this work and you would like to support this work, we literally operate off of the donations 100%, because this is all I do 7 days a week. I've been doing it for 15 years. I've been through 4 channels on YouTube and many other channels, and where they've terminated me and tried to get me to stop. They try to keep me as broke as possible all the time. And the only thing that changes that and allows me to continue is y'all guys and your small donations that you send in on a regular basis through all of you. And all the links to all that are below this video in the more section or the description area, depending on where you're watching this at. And we appreciate you. We love you. And we're going to see you again here real soon on the Supernatural Show. And remember that Father in heaven loves you, and He would like to hear from you every now and then. Just go to some private place in your house and remember He is different, but He's not that much different than if you were talking to your own Father here on this earth. He's Father, and Father, I know I've messed up. I made a mistake. I went out there and did that. You told me not to do it. I knew it was bad. And you just go talk to Him, and it'll go a long ways for you. And this isn't a religious thing. This is a spiritual thing. So with that being said, I love you guys, and we'll see you again soon. Remember, Monday, Celeste is going to be here, so we're going to have another big show. Looking forward to seeing you then. Bye-bye for now.
you.